All right, we are live, GameHounds.
Look at this chair. Look at this chair. This chair has got the virus. They put a towel over that or a shawl or something. I mean, that thing's got flesh-eating bacteria on it.
This chair?
Yes. That chair is so bad, Nick. Come on.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
That thing survived the zombie apocalypse of 58.
That chair is the
No,
zombie
it didn't
apocalypse.
survive
It
the
didn't
zombie
survive.
apocalypse.
Ah.
This chair is patient 0.
All right.
Yeah,
so,
no, you know who it is? It's that fucker's fault. Yeah, you see him in the little corner there. Yeah.
He's is that the Shepherd or,
That's Jupiter.
Oh, Jupiter.
Shepard is in my lap currently eating my hand. And I'm trying not to wince at it. Okay, motherfucker. Yes, Jupiter is a destructive force of nature.
Oh, so they're waiting for Jupiter to leave you in one way, shape, or form, and then you will get another chair.
Yeah. I'm not gonna get another chair now. Like,
Yeah.
Why would I? This thing's in great shape.
oh yeah,
Because
hey, you know
it's
what?
just going to end up
It's
like that
still-
again.
Also, it still works. You know,
Yeah.
it's a chair. It works as a chair. Oh,
I
Shepherd's
had a
fine now,
couch
but-
that was completely destroyed. I mean, it was embarrassingly destroyed. And
Go
I
on. What
I
happened
didn't-
on this couch?
didn't- Nothing. It was the cat. It was that.
What an asshole cat. That's such a meme right there.
He's looking at the chair like, I will have you.
He's looking at, now he's looking at you.
You will die. I had a couch that was all fucked up for my cat, and I didn't get a new couch until the cat, because it was like, why? I was just gonna get a new couch, and then the new couch would look just like the old couch in a very short period of time until the cat was too old to actually scratch stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we should replace our furniture too, but we should just wait until.
the force
It's
of
gone.
nature has gone. Yeah. All right. So, hey, Barbara's in the chat room. AC Wraith, got you here. Episode, what are we? 535. I screwed up the episode count of last week's episode. I said it was 533, and it was actually 534. So I have to go back and change it. Realize that today. Anything before we start the show?
No snow. We've had no snow over here. It is
We
really
have had
weird.
no rain in a month, and they're already talking a drought.
Ugh.
We're in almost drought situation right now.
Yeah, it's about that time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Drought season.
And I got through my fourth interview with my 7th person for a job that I'm trying to get.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I'm definitely in a final running.
many-
This was the last one.
That's good. How many interviews are usually conducted?
It depends. I mean, sometimes it's 1 or 2, depending on a small company. This company, I mean, let's be clear. I am applying for a job for which I am just horribly overqualified. This is a receptionist job. I will be answering the phones. And
They got to get
have
the best
interviewed
phone
me 4 times.
answerer.
Yeah, it's a company that essentially they want people to come in and stay for decades. They have
Okay, that's usually
amazing
good.
benefits. Amazing benefits.
That's what matters.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really, really, really want to work there. They tend to do a lot of promotion from within. It's apparently a freaking-tastic company to work for. So you come in as a receptionist, you get interviewed 4 times, all the way up to a project. I mean, like I've had like increasing levels of of supervisors interviewing me. So yeah, actually, technically, it was a 5th interview because one interview I came in for 2 days and they interviewed me for 2 hours.
Wow.
In different rounds. It was a
how does an interview last for 2 hours? Like, how many questions do they ask?
Because
Like,
it was multiple people. It was multiple rounds.
oh, okay,
I
okay.
had
I
to
was
do it was
okay.
two rounds of
Multiple
1 hour
people makes
interviews with
sense.
2 people.
Okay.
Right.
Well, because I was thinking like if someone's sitting with you and they're asking you questions, there's only so many logical questions you can ask.
It was the
At a
same
certain
question
point,
over and over.
Jesus
It was,
Christ.
tell me about
Oh.
yourself.
Well,
Tell me
Two-
about
two-
yourself 5 times.
Mhm.
Oh God.
Yeah,
You
I've
don't
got
want-
the tell me down. The elevator pitch is down.
So-
it is like I can do it in my sleep.
So in my head, like the progression of this is not so much that like it's not that you keep getting asking harder questions. It's more like, hey, low level manager, I like this person. Give it to the upper level manager. Do you like this person? They ask the same questions. Yes, I like this person. Let's give it to a higher level person. Do you like her? Yes, I do like her. It's just the same interview, just slowly going up the ladder until they hire you.
Yep. And slightly different questions from them sometimes, but
Okay.
mostly a lot of them the same questions. So, because
Huh.
there's certain things that stand out on your resume. When you put drone racing on your resume, you're gonna get asked for it. So I've had to
That's
do the
cool.
drone racing story 5 times. No, 7 times. 5 times. So
But just wait, because when you're a receptionist and people come to the desk, that's going to be a topic of conversation that you have to do like once a day.
yeah, at least.
Yeah.
And of course, they always ask me, "What do you like to do in your downtime? What do you do for fun?" It's like video games. And I've podcast for 12 years now. No, 13 years, going on 13 years now. No, 12 years.
no stranger speaking.
12 years.
Yeah.
We're in our 13th year. So yeah. Anyway, shall we start the show?
Yeah, let's try to get this going.
Half an hour late. Wow.
Yeah,
record.
I know, and I got to work tonight too.
Yeah.
It
All right.
sucks,
So let's.
Oh, I
let's
thought we
let's
were
try-
already live because Barbara and Ruth are in the chat.
Right, but no, we're live on
the video sense.
the video stream, but we haven't started the
Oh.
podcast.
Well, start the fucking podcast.
Well, somebody wanted to talk about
I
Yeah,
got
that
news.
could have
demons and fucking angels.
That could have been.
Come on, that's how we collaborate on the shows. It's
Oh
going
yeah,
well.
I know.
fucking angels are the best angels.
Hey, see right. All right, we are going live. All right, mics are hot. Hello and welcome. Ooh, broke my voice turned into a 13-year-old boy. Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 535. We are recording this on March 4th, 2020. This will be a 100% Super Tuesday primary free episode. This is your holiday from all things political. I'm Edie Sellers. Actually, I'm coughing your elbow. With me is Wash Your Hands and Nick DiNicola.
Good to be here, Cough. Good to
Yeah,
be here.
In
Good
the
to have
chat,
you, Wash.
Andrew Smith asked, "How do I Nick DiNicola?" And I just want to clarify that Nick DiNicola is a drink. You pour 2 ounces of any cola, your favorite kind, and then you take a cheese grater and you grate off about 2 shots worth of gray block into the cola.
Off your
and
left nut.
then you drink
Yep.
it. Yeah.
There you go. Stir it with your dick, and
Got
there
it.
you go. You got
Yeah.
your D Nicola. You put the D in D Nicola.
I put the D in Nick.
I hate you. I hate you. I do. I hate you.
So we said that we're 100% primary free, but we are not coronavirus free. Holy shit. Okay, so coronavirus.
I wash my hands. I read on Facebook, if you wash your hands, this whole thing goes away and you're immune. So I wash my hands so I can never get the coronavirus because I wash my hands. Right?
Yes,
Is that how it
yes.
works? Because that's what I saw. People
don't-
saying.
No, it doesn't, because I read on Facebook that it's a conspiracy by the Illuminati, and we're all already infected. They just have to flip a switch because it's a digital virus, and so they need to flip a switch to activate us. So, it's like The Walking Dead. We're all already infected.
Okay. All right. I have
Yeah.
heard that people are not drinking
So-
Corona beer because of
Oh.
they're
Yeah.
afraid it's going to give them the coronavirus. I have also heard people saying that they're considering gargling with bleach because they think it might protect them.
Wow. No, see, what you need to know is that the Corona beer is actually the cure to the coronavirus.
I've had to gargle with bleach a few times back in the late 80s, but that's another story.
That was more about who you were dating at the time. But in all seriousness, yesterday, amid all of this other stuff about, we just had our we're not going to say it. There was something that happened yesterday in California that everybody did. But in the midst of all of these people all going together into small rooms and doing things and touching things like pens that everybody else had, we had a confirmed coronavirus in the next town over from me in Berkeley. And we got our first coronavirus somewhere in this county, first case yesterday afternoon, confirmed somewhere in this county, but the county is not saying where. We have a very big county. It means that it could be almost 45 miles that direction to the east because I'm on the west side. But somewhere in this county, there is one person in the community, and it was somebody that had not been in contact with anybody that traveling or was not, it had no travel. No,
At this point,
no
at the,
travel. Yeah, it was a
It's gonna-
community
it's-
spread. They
it's
can't
gonna
figure
go
out where
away.
this
At
person
this
got
point,
it.
it's spreading everyone. Like there's an invisible path, and it's
Right. It's spreading like the flu. And
I
this
had
is
a-
one of those community spreads. So yeah, so it's real as fuck.
What's
for
the-
me.
what's the county
so
that
cough
you're in?
into your fucking Contra Costa?
Okay.
So cough into your fucking elbow and wash your fucking hands. And don't just stick your hands under the water and just get them wet and put some soap on them. 20 seconds. That means sing happy birthday twice or twinkle, twinkle, little star once. Palms, fingers like this, and then like this. Palms, fingers like this, then rinse a lot and dry. And
Can
then
you do that one more time? I didn't quite get it.
this is
It's
the
like- it's like an-
WHO method of washing your hands.
It's like
Then
an ASMR
fingers
video.
cupped like that, fingers cupped like that, and then back to it. Hands, tops, fingers, and then also don't forget your sides. And that's it. But it takes,
Tops fingers
it
is
should-
the name of my sex tape.
it should take at least a minute to wash your hands. So this is not a little wash. This is wash the fuck out of your hands a lot.
Yeah, we had a
Don't
couple.
fucking cough. I mean, if you're gonna cough in your fucking elbow. Don't cough in your hands. Cover your goddamn mouth. You fucking mouth breathers.
Mouth
Bitters
breathers.
Plus says giggity.
Wow. It's,
Or
it's,
just get a face mask.
it's bitter. It's bitter.
Well, even the face mask doesn't protect you.
no,
thing.
but if you're infected, get a face
Yes,
mask.
if you are infected, stay home from work.
Yes.
That's the thing is that this
Some
virus.
people can't.
80% of the people that get this virus are asymptomatic while they're being infectious. So you might be infectious and have no idea.
Yeah.
So
We had a couple guys that went to PAX East. They said it was pretty barren compared to other ones. Because I said, I
Yeah.
don't like to go. There's a lot of people. There's no place to sit. It's just busy times. We haven't gone in a few years. And I said, maybe next year, the year after, I'll go again. He's just like, this year, there was nobody there. He says, a lot of the majors pulled out. There wasn't a lot to see. Plenty of walking space. Would have been interesting to see the crowds because we know what the crowds look like. So I imagine.
Yeah.
but there were a lot of people who came back sick from PAX. I mean, already, even though they had so few people, there was still PAX plague this year.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah.
There's just so many people packed into that place.
So, in the chat room on Spreaker, we have AC Wraith, and in the chat room on YouTube, on which we are live, we have AC Wraith, who says she likes to hang with cursing friends and podcasts. Have a listen. Oh, who? Oh, me?
Yeah.
Thank you. And yes, I do.
Yeah. She said that in the beginning when I was like, "Why isn't the show started yet?"
We have Barbara Zelikman, who is actually the winner of the chat room in YouTube. We have AC Wraith, aka Croatia Chaos. So he said, okay, I know how to cough in my elbow and wash my hands. How do you, Nick Nicola? We've already covered that. AC Wraith says the GameHounds always coming in with life-changing information. Yeah, I know. We like to change lives. We like to touch people in inappropriate ways. And they're never the same afterwards. Who wrote "This Show Sucks"? It was one of us.
Barbara.
No, it says GameHounds wrote it.
Well, then it must be you or somebody you know. Somebody
you're
that might be infected.
Wash your hands, you fucker.
How would I do it again?
Nope, don't forget in between the fingers.
Yeah. What's the steeple? You do that, and then you do like that.
Do the tap and all the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. How you wash your hands. Anyway. AC Ray says I were referencing that job interview where multiple F words were played. Yeah, that job interview where you sat there and sang the F word.
You asked me to do that.
Yes, yeah.
I did not. I did not.
Yes, you did. No,
don't listen to episode 313. Not 313. I'm listening to 313. Click. We'll give you a call.
I did that at your prompting or something similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay.
So, anyway, games. Let's talk games because, we're already a half hour late getting in. Let's actually get to the show. I played a game that a Steam game that I actually saw on this Gray still plays. He's actually a really good source of kind of small independent games that are the type of games I actually like to play. And this one is called Drafting Tales. And it is a game about being a writer. It's a sim game. Well, no, it's like a tycoon game on Steam. It's in early access. And I would say it's a bit less like, it's like, have you ever played any of those video game tycoons where you have to make video games and sell them and do promotion and stuff like that? It's a bit like that, but this game is fucking brutal. You are a guy who is in his room, in his apartment, with a pad of paper, and you start out being a freelancer where you're just picking up gig work. You need to do it as fast as humanly possible to make enough money to be able to learn topics and buy books so that you can read them, so that you can learn more about writing, like plot and characters and how to do more research. And the goal is that you want to eventually be able to work into writing novels. The longer stories you write, the more time it takes. You are constantly bleeding money because you have to pay for rent and living, and those are constantly going up. It is at the beginning really fucking hard not to go out of business. I mean, you go bankrupt usually in year 2 or 3. You go bankrupt unless you are literally just. Oh, and you can't write constantly, because if you do, then you end up burning out. So you have to wait for your inspiration bar to come up or do something that's not writing, like reading a book. But to read a book, you have to spend money. If you don't have the money, you can't spend the money. So then you have to go on vacation, but vacations cost money and it takes time away from writing. it's a lot of just like, right, and doing it strategically so I don't lose my inspiration bar completely. Because once you hit lose inspiration, you start to write super slow and you miss deadlines like crazy. And then you think, okay, I played it. I got into year like 15, and I was like, I've got like $500,000 in the bank. I am golden. I can literally spend all my time writing books and submitting them and getting them published and getting the reviews back and then getting the sales, and there's residuals on that. So it's like, all right, I'm doing pretty good. Now I can spend some time researching. And then it becomes really, really, really hard to research and to get farther along and to write the perfect book to progress in a novel. I spent literally all day on this game and could never, I didn't beat it. I essentially ended up retiring before I ever got past like the middle goals. So it's not only brutal to start, it is brutal at the end, which is kind of crazy that it is not an easy game. But it was certainly very entertaining. There's a lot of waiting around as you make more as you are actually doing the writing. It takes a lot of time because you're sitting there, you're just going tick 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 tick, and you're seeing the word count go up, and it's got to get there, and it's like, oh god, and your inspiration bar is going down, and the word card is going up. It's like, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? Sometimes you have to stop the book in the middle, go on a vacation, fill up the meter, and then start back in again. It is, and I think that one of the things that makes it very difficult is also it doesn't do a very good job of educating you on what you need to be doing to write better books. You kind of have to figure it out on your own. I think I'd probably do better if I played it again, but there is that question of, will I even get past year 3 or 4? Because that is literally... Maybe it depends
This
on.
sounds a lot like that video game maker game on Steam. Nick, did you ever
the
play
Game
that?
Dev Tycoon.
Game Dev Tycoon.
Yeah,
right?
where you do the video
played that on
game
the
and,
phone.
and you start in your garage and then you decide what topic and that's all trial and error because there's some things that I did that were hits. Like I did a football game that was a hit, and then I tried to do an adventure game that flopped, and I had $1 million in the bank, and I upgraded and I hired people, did this, and then in one fell swoop I was out of business.
Oh,
It was
sorry,
it was really kind of hard actually, that game.
Yeah,
it was fun.
And, well,
it was fun.
That game was. I've played that. That game is hard. This game is way harder. Way harder. I mean, I did a pretty good job of, hitting that. Being able to be successful for many years on.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you were able to be kind of successful, but then just retired before you had your big break.
Right. And before I actually got to where I could make a novel. So yeah, it's a it's a fun game, and you sit and you just work on reading books. Oh god, this guy just jumps around. I'm sorry.
Chicken tenders.
Yeah, you name your author. You actually make it, and you get to name all of your books. All of my books were poo related, so like my religion. Oh, you could see market reports to see what's popular. I'm kind of like the Game Dev Tycoon. You can see what's popular and then what style of book. So like self-help and religion. So you could do a self-help religion book, but self-help and religion don't go together very well.
It sounds like fun. I would name my first book like Poking Nick with Sticks.
Right. Well,
stuff like that.
Putting the D in Nick.
And it'd be a self-help book. How I feel better.
Yeah.
Yep. The it is a way harder game than the Game Dev Tycoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, way harder.
I looked for this on the App Store as you're talking about it because it sounds really cool, but it seems like it's only on Steam.
It's only on Steam and it's early access, so but it's been out for a while. Is there? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can
Okay,
hear.
all right. Just the audio
Yeah,
died.
I was just looking at the
Yeah, just watching the video
game.
here. Yeah, very similar to the
I like
game dev.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Oh, AC Wraith says it's also on itch.io. It's not just Steam,
Oh.
but
Okay. I did not know that.
I would like to play it.
Yeah, it's
the phone.
definitely a yeah. It's a shame that it's not on the phone, but it's I could see it. I could see it working on the phone. It's definitely possible.
These games are fun. They're right up my alley. I love games like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you start off writing your articles and by hand, and then you have to buy a typewriter, and then you
I'm so getting
have
this.
to buy a computer, and then you have to buy a modem because of course those increase your speed, which is important because if you're writing fast, then you have to worry less about your inspiration going out. You can write more words before your inspiration hits zero. And
It's $10.99. Oh, I'm gonna have to wait for a sale.
Yeah. You submit the books. Once you've finished your book, you can submit it for feedback to see if your themes work, if you got the right amount of research, the right amount of editing, if you spend enough time on your characters, if you spend enough time on your plot.
Games similar to this, House Flipper. I didn't know they had a House Flipper game.
Yeah, they have a house flipper game. I actually have them on my wish list.
Here's one that you should probably get, Edie, a cooking simulator. That'd be a good one for.
I've already done that.
Yeah,
It's all right.
You'd be good at it, probably.
There's a ton of cooking simulators. Not really. It's more.
Oh, House Flipper looks awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at this place. It's trashed. Add to wish list.
Yep. So anyway, that's I mean, you start out, I'm going to move it back over here see if it shows you. Yeah, you start out writing your articles on a piece of paper and it's super slow. You can see them writing on the paper. And then eventually, if you survive long enough, you get to the point where you've got a typewriter and you can see the guy writing on a typewriter. And then eventually you get where you've got a computer, hopefully.
So you never actually wrote a book in the game.
I did. I wrote a nonfiction. I got to the point of writing nonfiction.
Okay, so you start with articles and then you go into like short stories,
right?
Okay, and then
into nonfiction.
Oh, you gotta go to nonfiction first?
Nonfiction first, and then you can go to fiction. But you've got to write a perfect nonfiction book before you get fiction. And
really,
it's really I don't know what I was doing wrong. I thought I was doing everything right. But
that would make sense that you'd require a lot more research.
Yeah, and markets go up. I mean, your journalism, in your articles, you have different genres like self-help, technical, journalism. And then you can pick the topic, and not all topics fit with all genres. Like a journalism spy theme works, or journalism crime works. Journalism usually works with everything, but self-help crime doesn't work very well. Self-help spy does not work very well. And if you put out a book and it's a bad book, that's why you check your feedback if you're not sure. If you put out a bad book, then your inspiration goes way the fuck down. So you essentially suffer a penalty. So in some cases you write a book and you realize I made a horrible mistake. I should not release this. And you, of course, the whole time you're trying to accumulate fans because you need a certain amount of fans to be able to get yourself an agent, and a certain amount of fans to get yourself a publisher. I mean, sorry, not a publisher, a publicist, which helps you get more money. It is a hard, way harder game than it looks. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I had a very good time, and I want to play it again because I want to beat it.
It sounds like now when I played that video game dev thing, I mean that was like a 10 to 15 minute game, and you either succeeded or you didn't. Then you can go back and play it again. So you could like bang that game out. That's what I really liked about that. I wouldn't want to be an hour and a half in this.
This game. No, I mean I played it for multiple hours, but I got to the point.
Did it like require you to do that, or is that just what you did?
Required it.
Oh,
because it takes time to write a book. You have to go to
Maybe
30 years in the industry, and each year takes about 10 or 15 minutes.
you can stop in the middle of a run though, can't you?
Oh, yeah, you can stop and save and continue later.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. I didn't do it all in one sitting. But it was 2 evenings of that's what I did that evening instead of like watching television or anything. By the way,
Well-
End of the Fucking World on Netflix is fucking genius. I'm in season 2.
I really want to see that.
Such a good show.
I've been on my wish list for a while.
Yeah, and The Boys.
The Boys is just really good.
Boys is really good.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
You guys watch too much TV.
The Boys is good.
I just do it in the
saying.
evenings. Yeah, The Boys is real. So
I spend more
think-
time watching TV this week than playing games.
Yeah, me too, actually. So yeah, that was my one game this week. So Nick, what do you got?
My one game is Kentucky Route Zero.
Oh, really? I have it. I just have never played it.
I finally started. I've played all the episodes as they came out over the past, decade or so. So I've played a lot of it. But episode 5 recently came out, which is the conclusion. And as part of that, they released like the complete edition on consoles and as well as PC. So I bought the full edition on PlayStation and I started from the beginning because I kind of wanted to just see, it's been a long time since I played that first episode. And from what I remember, it is a fairly dense, very narratively driven game. So I didn't want to just go into the last chapter, having spent 7 years not thinking about it. So Kentucky Route Zero is they describe the game, the description itself describes it as like a magical realist road trip. And it is kind of like that. It's magical realist in the way that there's a lot of strange kind of supernatural things going on in the world, but everyone treats it as this incredibly mundane, almost boring situation. It's an adventure game in that it's very, very point and clicky, where you kind of just walk through a scene, but it's not driven by puzzles. It's really just driven by dialogue, and it's an interesting dialogue system because you create the conversation through the choices. So you're not really responding to people. You kind of choose the direction of where the conversation is going. So instead of just like someone asks you a question, you say like yes or no. It's really like yes, and then I'm going to go on to describe, something about myself or the situation and how I see the world, or yes, and describe some other situation, some other backstory about myself, or no, that calls some other backstory. And so you're kind of creating the character and creating your own narrative throughout it through the choices. And it's the story itself involves Conway, who's this a delivery truck driver for an antique shop, and he is looking for 5 Dogwood Drive, and he is told that in order to get there, he has to go through the Zero, which is this mystical, magical highway. And so the first episode, because it's broken up into 5 acts, and the in between each of them is kind of this little interstitial play almost. But the first act is about him trying to find the Zero. And so you kind of get bumped out to this map, very similar to what you see on screen here, and you drive around and just kind of the whole first episode is you just following the directions from this guy at a gas station, like, hey, go to this farmhouse, go to this bait shop over here, or you could just wander around and drive, and there are little vignettes sprinkled throughout the map that you can see. Some of them are just text boxes. Some of them are like cutaways where you actually zoom in to see what's going on. But it's all very interesting, kind of surreal, kind of just a very quiet, like desperation in everything. Like one of the situations you come across is these people pushing a plane down the highway, like an actual little airfoil plane. And they say that the wheels on the plane have almost run out, that the men's shoes are like nothing but soles, and they're almost walking on their bare feet, and they're just pushing this plane. You don't know why, you don't know where they're going, but that's just what they're doing. And what I know from playing future episodes is that the game is very interested in ideas of labor and debt and cycles of debt and sort of how you get stuck in it and how you live with it and whether you can break out of it, and just that it's a very quiet dystopian world in which debt consumes every aspect of people's lives. And yeah, it's a very well written game. It has a mood that you really get into as you play it. And yeah, I'm replaying through it. I've finished the episode 1, and I'm like partway through episode 2. And I'm still enjoying it. Like going back and playing it so many years later, it's interesting to see what I remember, because so many of the images that it presents have actually been really memorable. And like I'm remembering these strong images as I'm playing it. Like one of the things you find when you're writing through that's just a text description is like you're pushing your way through an office building. Like the walls are old and crumbling, and so you literally just push your way through the walls until you open up into this campfire inside the office building where a bunch of people are joined around, like drinking coffee, and cubicle walls have been cut up into firewood and are being burned. And it's like these fucking workers living in an abandoned office building using cubicle walls as firewood to keep warm. And it's like that's a strong sort of dark apocalyptic image.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying this game. It's good. It's definitely a like me type of game. Like it's very slow paced. It's very moody. Very very dialogue driven. Like you say, there's like no voice acting. It's all text. It's very text heavy. But I'm glad to say that the console edition is actually really good because the text is very big. I've played a lot of text-driven games on the console where the text boxes are fairly small, and I actually have to sit closer to read them clearly. In here, it's very big. Like I can sit back on the couch, lean back, and I can still read everything just fine. So I'm happy for that.
Yeah. Oh, I can see this. Like had such a reaction. It sucks when that happens, doesn't it, Nick? All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
well, there's not much to say about it. Yeah,
That's
Kentucky
not
Route
my
Zero.
type of game, but if you enjoyed
it's
it,
totally my kind of game. I'm
think
glad
it is
I
your
picked it
type of
up.
game.
I absolutely am going to be playing because I never like, I don't know why I didn't just have the inspiration to just load it up and play it. But this is exactly the kind of game I'm looking for.
I was washing my hands, so
I was coughing into my elbow. So, Gully, you got anything, or Nick, do you have anything else?
Sort of related. I finished Hunters on Amazon, and the last episode of that show
I was told to watch that.
It has some wild twists that make me think it is the closest we will ever get to a Wolfenstein TV show.
Oh, really?
It's much more grounded than Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein just goes, full bonkers sci-fi.
Right.
But in terms of the kind of twists and turns you can take when you're a Nazi hunting show, I'm watching the last episode going like, my God, this feels like I'm just getting Wolfenstein vibes off of this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I watched one
funny.
episode of it night before
No,
last.
Amazon, not Netflix.
Oh, you're right. It is Amazon. I am sorry. I watched one episode of Hunters with Kevin night before last, and Kevin is like, "Oh yeah, this is my kind of show," and me, I'm like, "Yeah, it's a little dark for me." I mean, there just seemed to be no lightness in this. It was pure dark Nazi
And the
hunting.
thing is, like, it never really gets lighter. Like the beginning is
seems like it's-
the beginning is when it's at its most fun.
Uh-huh.
Because it's like, oh, a lot of 70s style cutaways as it introduces the characters, a lot of fourth wall breaking stuff. As that gets more, it does that, except the fourth wall breaking stuff is more like cutaways into fake historical reenactments of, American senators being like, hey, we should get those Nazis and bring them over here and put them into NASA because they're smart. And it's like, this shit really happened. And then it goes back to the show, and it's like, oh, the 70s style cutaways are less about fun character introductions and more about dark American history.
Mm-hmm.
And it just keeps going in that direction. It's like, oh, this is it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
there's not a
well
lot of
with
light or happiness in
right.
that
It's
show.
right, exactly. And it's one of the reasons why even though I watched most of a season of what's the other Nazi show?
Man in the High Castle.
Yes, Man in the High Castle. Even though I watched almost a full season of it, it was very interesting. I couldn't go because it was like, I just walk away from it feeling fucking awful. I don't need that. I can feel awful all by myself.
I didn't feel awful with
really
that.
effectively.
I love alternative history stuff. That was I got through season.
That was the one nice thing
2.
about it was the alternative history. In Hunters, it's not an alternative history. There's
Yeah.
no like what if. It's like, oh yeah, this fucking happened.
It gets old history.
Yeah. I mean, it is alt history because theoretically there were no senators and the Secretary of State wasn't a Nazi that murdered his whole family. But yeah,
It goes more in that line than by the end.
yeah. Kevin will fucking love it. I'm probably not. So, Goalie, did you play anything?
I did. I played a couple things. I got back to my Call of Cthulhu on Xbox, and I finally got through the hard part, which I told was the hard part, where this thing took a really, really, I don't want to say a dark turn, but a very Lovecraftian turn in this game. And I ended up getting captured and wake up in an insane asylum, and you have to escape this insane asylum, and you got to do this by creating a distraction and sneak around. So it turns into Alien Isolation at this point, where you just sneak around. And after 10 tries of getting caught, I was like, wow, I might be done with this game because I just can't do this. I'm just not seeing what they want me to do, and sneaking around wasn't having fun. And a friend of mine in hockey said, yeah, that's the only part of the game I think you do this. So I was like, okay, that's okay. So I went back and I just took my time and I snuck around and I watched the guard patterns and I finally got through that point where I did escape. Luckily it allowed me a couple of save points, so I didn't have to do the whole thing over. But I did get out of the insane asylum, and things are just getting really weird now. It's a really strange what's happening. I won't give it away. But it's fun paced. That one part I didn't care for the sneaking around. I just because it was such a good game where you went around, you searched for clues, you had these flashbacks in the game, you had dialogue, you could upgrade some skills so you could unlock more dialogue questions. It was really doing a good thing to that point, and then we come to that point where you got to sneak around. I was like, really?
It's like all of a sudden this game about like being free to walk around and explore is punishing you for walking around and exploring.
Yeah, now you had to sneak around and couldn't get caught. You had to go do a bunch of things, and I had trouble finding it. And just I don't like this was not a sneak around game. It really wasn't. This was just a wide open, take your time, not worried about dying or anything type of game to that point. So now that I think that's passed, now I'm back to exploring the place, and the story's starting to unravel a little bit. And it's fun. I mean, like I say, it was a free game for Xbox. I'd pay $20 for this, $15-20 for it. This was fun. It's a fun.
Is it
little,
still free?
I don't know if it's still free anymore. It was free.
Yeah, it was
February,
the last month free game.
It might, if it is, it's only going to be for a few more days here in March, but. It was really fun. I'm enjoying it. So playing more Call of Cthulhu on the Xbox. And the only other thing I played, I can actually maybe share my screen here with the other game I played. So I go to my Chrome tab and I'll share this here. I was playing some Stratomatic Hockey, but I was using the Stratomatic Hockey utility. Okay? And the difference between the two is that you can actually play the cards and dice version of this game with help from the computer. So you can see me here clicking around how I get the scoreboard. I have the face-off chart, it's what's called the penetration chart. If you want to get closer to the net, you can try to penetrate, get by the defense, penalty chart. And so you can, instead of having all the charts in front of you, okay, you can put it all on the computer. And so I do have the cards. I have all the teams in front of me that you can't see, but I can actually roll the dice in the computer, see what it says, look at the card, check the card, and the card says, okay, you got a shot on net. Roll the dice in the computer to take the shot. It tells me what the number is. I look at the card again to see if I got a goal or not. And this computer keeps track of all the shots, all the penalties, all the goals, all the assists, and at the end of the game, it spits out all your stats for you. And so I can play this game without a huge footprint. I don't need to set it all up and have charts everywhere when I play this game. I can do it right here on this helper. And so I was playing the 1971-72 Stanley Cup Finals between Boston and New York. And I actually streamed it the other night. Had a couple people watch the entire game, which is kind of fun because it took me a little over an hour to play the game. But it's I love how they've incorporated the computer into some of these tabletop games. It's easy to keep stats, and it's just it's fun to play, as you know, board games by themselves. But sometimes I'm sitting there playing, and I don't have to move the cards around because all I can do is click to change the lines, and then I just gotta whatever card it tells me to look at. I just look at the table and look at the card, and it's kind of fun that way. So I was playing some Strat-O-Matic hockey with the utility helper. It's not the helper, just utility. But having a good time playing that along with my Cthulhu. So I love the tabletop games.
I was just checking the PSN site, and it seems like Call of Cthulhu actually just went on sale today through the 18th of March for $12. So I think I'll probably I'll pick it up. But that seems like my type of game.
Yeah, I would have gone 15 to 20, for that game. But, and I haven't finished it. I don't even know how. I could be at the end. I could not be at the end. I don't know how far along I am. But yeah, the Call of Cthulhu. And there's a link for Strat-O-Matic Hockey by Lancelot Link there. Posting that up. And in fact, I have the Strat-O-Matic Hockey PC game, and I've shown that before here on the show. But I was actually using the actual cards and using this utility, which kind of combines with the cards to play the game. So you're still playing the game manually, but you're just having a computer keep track of some of your stuff. So like that. But yes, Call of Cthulhu are very like that. I haven't gone back to the Division 2 yet. I heard they got some new updates. I got to get back to that. I haven't gone back to the Division 2 yet. But I will at some point. But that's about all I've been playing. I've been bouncing back and forth between here and the PC, and having my cards put out here on the table, and then playing some Call of Cthulhu on the Xbox. And so I haven't done the update game. I've updated a bunch of games. Actually, the wife hasn't been on PS4 in a while. I had to update all of her stuff. If you don't get on there for a while, boy, I tell you, you do.
It takes a while to update.
Yeah.
All right, so shall we hit the news?
Yeah, the only other thing I got is I had a copy of Elizabeth Warren's speech that she was going to talk about.
We said no, this is politics free.
So I'm not going to read that speech because she didn't win.
Her victory speech, yeah. All right, so on that note, let's hit the news. This is the GameHounds News, the news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer Edie, Holy Gully, and Nick DiNicola, a.k.a. Cough in Your Elbow, Wash Your Hands, and Nick DiNicola. And our first item is...
I got one here.
Yeah?
The PlayStation 2 turns 20. Imagine that, 20 years old for the
PlayStation 2.
PlayStation come out 20 years. It says 20 years ago today. I'm not sure when this was written, but I think it might have been today or yesterday. It might have been written tomorrow. I don't know. But so 20 years ago, it had a lifespan of 13 years, and one of the best-selling consoles of all time. I'm reading off Engadget here.
And it was the console that cemented my relationship to what would be my future husband. The fact that he was able to score me a PS2. The fact that he was able to write a spider that went out, shopping spider. He wrote it to go out and buy PS2s and ended up with 11 of them and sold 10 of them and gave one to me.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. I didn't have one.
Early years. I mean, 20 years ago, there weren't that many spiders.
I didn't have a PS2 till a few years ago. And then now all the ones behind me, these are all PS2 games because they're all cheap now. But I had the PS1. And when I went out, so do I get the PS2 or do I get the Xbox? And people said, well, the Xbox has the built-in hard drive, so you don't need the memory cards, and has a better online thing too, because it was newer, so it did a few different things. So
Right.
I went Xbox, and then I went 360, and then, so I didn't get PS2 or PS3. In fact, I've never had a PS3. But I did go back and get the PS2 only because what's there 1,400 games, and the Xbox had some of those, but it
Yeah.
didn't have all of those. So I went back and I found a ton of fun little games that I picked up between $1 and $5 that you can play on the PS2, and that's why I picked up a copy of that. In fact, I have a couple of them. I have the slim and the fat one, and I've streamed a few things from the PS2 as well. It just doesn't look as good, but
I never got a slim or anything. I still have my original. We ended up buying a number of PS2s because they would overheat, not overheat, but after it was like it
Yeah.
had a huge lifespan.
Oh, I think I
And
still have my original one.
I have my original one. I had to crack it open a couple of times because I had to clean it out.
Yeah.
To clean out because it was a optical disk drive, so you had to clean off and take the dust off the disk, the little laser light. So I cracked it open and cleaned it and put it back together again, and it was fine. And I still have mine, the original one that Kevin bought me when we were first dating in 1999, 2000. I think it was the first year, so it was 99.
yeah, you can get
That
this.
Christmas 99 is what my Christmas present, and I remember opening it in front of my parents. My parents were like, "What? I don't understand." I'm like, "You don't understand. This is that was my reintroduction to gaming."
Do you remember what the first game you played on it was? Because I know when I got it at launch, like I was with my dad, I think, in a GameStop getting it, and I was able to choose a game, from their wall, and I chose one that I thought looked good called X Squad.
Oh,
It ends up being what is possibly one of the worst launch lineup games ever. It is still probably one of the worst games I've ever played. And this is like the young Nick who's just like, oh, I just want a video game and have fun. I'm not thinking critically about jack shit. But X Squad was bad.
I can't. I'm having I'm blanking on the
Nick,
name.
did that
Mind?
sour you? Did that sour you on the PS2 playing a bad
No,
launch game?
I was just like, I really need to get another game. Like I was very annoyed, and I don't know how long it took, but I was like, I'm just gonna sell this back to GameStop and get something else. I was just very quickly like, I need to get rid of this game and get a better one. But I was still very interested and excited about it. It's just I'll always remember that first game was like the worst.
That's funny.
I got the first game that I played was a classic PS2 game called Mind something. I'm having a blank.
Mind Hunter?
Mindhunter.
Sure it's not the TV show?
No.
Do I have that?
No, that's not it. Mind something. It was a classic. It was actually a really good game. Somebody in the chat room remember. I cannot remember the name. I'm having a senior moment. But
Mind Games? Ultimate Mind Games?
no. It was a shooter.
The PsyOps, the Mindgate conspiracy?
No.
Okay, because that's actually a very good game.
But
Was it a launch game?
I believe it was a launch game. I mean it came with the I think I got rid of all my PS2 games.
Freaky Flyers. This is a real fun game to play.
Launch
No.
titles.
You know what? I may still have it. Stand by.
Okay, I'm looking at a list of launch titles, and I don't see a Mind thing, but I do see a bunch of games that I recognize. I didn't realize SSX was a launch game.
Oh, launch
but
one.
that
really?
was-
That was the game
yeah.
that we put in and played pretty much the first day until midnight. As soon as my parents left, we popped it in. I think we played until dawn.
Which one? The Mind game?
Yeah, whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. The second one, which was actually, we played that first one. We played it a couple of hours. Then we put in another game that Kevin bought for me, and I still have it in my hands right here. And this was the moment that my brain exploded. You ready?
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, yeah. SSX. That is a classic.
This consumed both of us for so long. Such a good game. Holy crap. Yeah, I still have it mostly because this was SSX. This was the game that brought me back. Well, I mean, we had been playing PC games together. Like we would sit together and we would play PC games, choose your own adventures, and adventure games and point and clicks together since we started going out. And that's why the PS2 was kind of a cool thing, and because it was my introduction back into console gaming. I mean, since the previous console that I'd owned had been a freaking Atari, in the 80s. So then this turned me into a console gamer. I never went back to PC games after that.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. And hey, in the chat room, Donnie in the chat says he's got a working Atari 2600. And I just watched on YouTube the other day. There was somebody who restored a 2600. It was like all rusty and crusty, and he just took it apart, and he like took controls and everything apart on this thing. Took the circuit board off, and he like used circuit board cleaner and Q-tips, and he went in there and he took the controllers apart, took everything apart, scrubbed it all down, toothbrushes, the whole bit, spray painted the thing all over, put it all back together, and it worked like a charm. So it was really kind of a neat little video I saw.
There is something to be said about American solid. No, well, they weren't American made, but solid building the way that they used to do electronics before everything was,
It's still, the games are still terrible though.
Yeah. So, next item.
Okay. I have an interesting one. This is actually going back a couple weeks. This was a Kotaku story about EA canceling a Star Wars Battlefront spinoff.
Right.
So I guess the progression of this game, there was the Amy Hennig narrative-driven game at Visceral called, like, not Runaways, Renegades? Rebels? It started with an R, but it was, that type of Uncharted-esque game. But then that got canceled, and Visceral got shut down. And so all of those assets got moved to another studio where they started working on another game. That second game actually got canceled, and all those assets got moved to another studio.
It was cursed.
Where they started building another game. And then that game, according to the Kotaku article, that game was supposed to be like a smaller scale, kind of open world spinoff to Battlefront. But they wanted it out by fall 2020. And when they saw that they wouldn't make that release date, they're like, okay, the third iteration of this assets, like they're not remaking the same game. They're just taking the assets and reusing them. But the third iteration, since it wasn't going to make fall 2020, they're like, okay, let's just cancel it.
Right. It's clearly cursed. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yes. Oh, and Ragtag. That was the name of the one Amy Hennig was working on. But the end of the Kotaku article mentions that today there are 2 new Star Wars games in development. A sequel to Jedi Fallen Order and a smaller, more unusual product at EA Motive in Montreal. That was from Jason Schreier.
Trustworthy source.
Today on PSN, a game called, or like a Star Wars thing called Project Maverick was added to the European PSN. And so it's kind of an accidental leak or something. Not quite sure what it is.
Yeah.
But it's just a logo with a Star Destroyer in the background. And so I suppose this could be that experimental game that was mentioned in the chat, in the Kotaku article. But at the same time, it's kind of weird for the logo to be Project Maverick, because that sounds like an internal code name, not the actual name of a game.
Right.
So yeah, but apparently it was added to the European PSN. So maybe it was like a fan thing that the European PSN mistakenly put up. Maybe it's an actual leak. We don't quite know yet, but I just saw that and immediately thought back to the Kotaku article and thought it could have been an interesting lends credence to the smaller, more experimental game may be coming out sooner than expected, and actually may actually be coming out, which at this point in EA's track record would be something impressive.
That would be. All right, my first item is I remember we talked about this quite some time ago, that remember when Bandersnatch came out on Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
And it was described by Netflix itself as, and it was used in the show as being the guy was working on a choose your own adventure, and that the show itself was a choose your own adventure where you interacted with the show to choose how the protagonist was going to answer or react to certain things, and it changed the course of the story, so you could play multiple stories within this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that that choose your own adventure was trademarked, and the trademark holder was suing Netflix for using the phrase choose your own adventure without paying for it. And they were trying to protect their trademark. Well, officially this week, Netflix has asked the trademark board, United States Trademark Department, to cancel the trademark of choose your own adventure because as an really aggressive step to try to head off, because that lawsuit's still in the works. And they're arguing that the phrase choose your own adventure is now so ubiquitous within everything that it's no longer really a trademark, kind of like Xerox is no longer a trademark. Even though Xerox is the name of a company, when you say something is a Xerox machine.
Kleenex.
Kleenex, right. That you can't, it's been used so much as a generic descriptor or as a descriptor of something that is not Kleenex and or a jacuzzi and or a
Was jacuzzi actually a brand too?
Jacuzzi's a brand.
I didn't know that.
Dumpster is a brand.
What?
Whenever you use something about a dumpster, you need to capitalize it. It is a brand name. Porta potty is a brand name.
So okay, I at least knew that one.
Yeah.
But dumpster? Really?
If you will notice, whenever
brand?
I write dumpster, and that was something that I had to use a lot when I was a newspaper reporter working in the city, we talked a lot. Frequently, dumpsters came up because of city.
Then
yeah,
what the
you
fuck
capitalize
do you
dumpster.
Call it, if not a dumpster, like a big trash container?
Yeah.
Huh.
Trash hauler. I don't know what the generic term of it is, but a dumpster is a
dumpster is the generic term.
Yeah, the dumpster is the generic term now. Like Xerox is generic.
Hey,
but anyway, yeah.
This game here, I'm sharing my screen for 1 second here. This game here, no joke. Okay, Deep Space D6. Remember I was playing this game?
Mm-hmm.
This is the unboxing of it. Okay, and it's set up like a choose your adventure game. And this guy got in all kinds of problems for this. In fact, he was talking about like not doing games again because he did this. It's just a little simple game, but it's how it's set up like a book.
Mm-hmm.
He got in a lot of trouble for this, I heard, because he was just a choose your adventure, and then they come after him. They didn't come after him too hard, but he says this is like a choose your own adventure game, and he got in trouble for that. So
the trademark owner's name is ChooseCo, and they were the publishers of the Choose Your Own Adventure books, the originals, like that thing looked like, and. So, ChooseCo sued Netflix. Netflix has, according to the Hollywood Reporter, they have Netflix did negotiate with ChooseCo over the licensing of the Choose Your Own Adventure brand, but it says that it wants its money back because Choose Your Own Adventure is so generic, like the term aspirin or thermos. Thermos is a brand name, but it's also, it doesn't have a trademark anymore because everybody uses thermos in the lowercase as opposed to T uppercase because thermos is still a company. We're looking and actually everybody's kind of arguing that Netflix is doing a good thing for a lot of independent games, that guy included, that if this trademark gets canceled because of this Netflix action by this request by Netflix, and Netflix certainly has the it has the pocketbook to be able to defend that argument, that it actually might do a lot of good for a lot of indie developers who want to describe their game as a choose your own adventure game, or their
Yeah.
movies or whatever, and be a choose your own adventure, but they can't call it that. They have to call it something else. In fact, one independent game had to went so far as to describe it as a, quote, select your own choose venture story, to get around having to negotiate with ChooseCo. So yeah, we'll see, but that's the ongoing saga of the choose your own adventure trademark, which may or may not exist in the future. There's no information about when this ruling might come in, but these things notoriously take a lot of time, so it might be sometime.
I feel like that's good because colloquially we use choose your own adventure all the time.
All the time. I mean, there is kind of no other description for that genre of choose your own adventure.
Like narrative branching story. Like, in games they've come up with different terms for it. There's branching story,
Right.
choice driven, dialogue driven.
Right. But the argument is going to have to be, has ChooseCo rigorously defended its choose your own adventure trademark enough, or has it been used without their use? Because the reason why Xerox and Thermos and everybody else lost their trademarks on those terms is because they didn't defend them, and ChooseCo is in that situation where they may have to defend themselves. And it may have to show their defense, and their defense may be enough to keep the trademark going.
Yeah.
I sometimes use that term uncolloquially too. So,
Okay, good for you.
I use it officially.
Yeah. So, next item, anyone?
Hey, PlayStation's got some big double discounts going on. Go check out the store. Let me see. Some notables that are in the $20 or less category. Dying Light is $14.99. I know I had a friend of mine that loved Dying Light.
Very good.
Burnout Paradise Remastered, $13.99. If you enjoy that stuff there. Let's see. Dishonored Definitive Edition, $13.39. Another big one here, Nick. Homefront: The Revolution. I don't know if I have that. Remember that? That was the second one. That was actually better. That was better than the original.
I remember playing it at PAX and just being like, this feels very generic.
Who was it that was playing? It might have even been Ken in the chat room that was playing the Homefront, and I was watching him play it on he was streaming on Twitch or something. But I don't know if I ever got Homefront: The Revolution. It was a lot better. It had a lot more going on. But anyway, if you want to get that, $12.99. What else? And here's a good one: Dead Island Retro Revenge, $3.50. I mean, come on, how Dead Island Retro Revenge? How could anything that's got a Dead Island in front of it? You got to get. In fact, Dead Island Riptide Definitive Edition is $13.99. So I mean, you got to get those.
Just get the whole Dead Island series.
You do. You got to get everything Dead Island. It's like a bad. I don't know. It's got a cult following. You have to get it. There's a lot more going on there, but those are some of the big ones that are under $20.
Yeah, that was where I saw the Call of Cthulhu being on sale. I've got a cool one. This is definitely for sorry. This is definitely for you and me, Edie. But tomorrow, season 3 of Castlevania comes out on Netflix.
Yes. Such a good show.
Yes. I'm very much looking forward to that. So I've been waiting for that for a while, and I was surprised when they announced the release date, because they only just announced the release date like a month or two ago. And so it was just sort of like, hey, guess what? The show's coming back in a month. And it's like, oh, whoa. But coming out March 5th, and I could not be more excited. That show is shockingly good.
Shockingly good.
Yeah.
In fact, I might make Kevin watch season. Did I say season 3? I meant season 2. I might make
season 3 is coming out.
Is it season 3? Are there 2 seasons of it?
Yeah.
Did I watch 2 seasons of it? It's been a while.
The first season was only 4 episodes.
That's right. That's
Like,
right. The
it
first
was-
season
it was
super. And I didn't
just
watch it
the
until season
movie.
2 was out, so I watched it all
Yeah.
together.
It was one of those that was like, we're just gonna test this very gently, and it was like very well received.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And I'm gonna probably make Kevin watch it once we're done with End of the Fucking World, which is such a good show. Such a good show.
You know, the director that has a new one out called like, I'm Not Okay with This.
I'm not okay with it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of watching that too. But yeah, right after watching one episode of Hunters where it was like all bleak, it's like okay. Then we started watching End of the Fucking World. It's like, yes, okay. So they're a kind of psychos and a little bit murdery, but there's an element of it's not a very fast story, but it's told really well in a kind of a Quentin Tarantino way that it's showing this kind of at the beginning, certainly at the beginning of season 2, the same story told from different perspectives that are adding in details that wouldn't have been known by the first person you saw the story from.
Okay.
So you kind of get the full picture nuance of everything going on. So it's a slow story, but so told really, really well.
Check that out.
So yeah. So my next item is let's see. PS5. There has been a leak about the PS5 specs. And this is a listing. It's the GameStop launched its landing page for the PlayStation 5. And the page included a section that detailed specs for the PS5. So I don't know if it's necessarily a leak, but there are specs information. There is information there that hadn't previously been announced by PlayStation. And that included full 8K TV support, which may or may not be useful to you unless you have an 8K TV, but most people don't have 8K TVs right now.
Are there even? I think there are 8K. Well,
They're
there-
out.
are there 8K TVs for sale, or are they just like, hey, look, CES type showpieces?
It may be CES showpiece. I don't know if there's an 8K.
I got a 7K, not an 8K though. I don't know if it'll work.
A bespoke 8-core AMD chipset, which is kind of neat. And for those of you who don't know what bespoke means, it means custom, meaning it is designed specifically for this, which is kind of nice.
How many teraflops though? That's the big thing everyone wants to know. Teraflops, that's the new buzzword.
It is. Where is the teraflops on this? I don't know.
16 million teraflops.
Oh,
Yes.
I love teraflops.
So many flops in that Terra.
There's so many flops. Is it? It's Terra, right? TERROR, right? Terra.
Yeah, it's so
TERRA.
powerful. It's
scary. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's a scary flop.
3D audio.
Oh, good, because there's.
I want 4D audio. I
Yeah,
want to hear shit that hasn't even happened yet.
Exactly. My dogs would be going.
So 3D audio, surround audio is like everywhere around you. Dolby is like a forward, front, center, and sides. Surround audio is behind. 3D audio is above and below. So you'll be able to identify if like in a headset, it will sound like things are above you and below you.
Good. If somebody takes a fart in a game, I'll feel it. That's great. That's just
Right.
great.
Yes,
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
feel that's the 4D is when you feel it on your face. Built-in built for purpose SSD hard drive. So a bespoke
Built for-
SSD hard drive.
Built for porpoise. Better than a dolphin, I hear, right?
Yeah. So which is kind of nice. It's
waterproof.
Solid state drive is okay by
Yeah,
me.
it is. Yeah.
Backwards compatibility with PS4 games and PSVR hardware.
Although I did hear
That's good.
that I was going to upgrade my PS4 with an SSD drive, and I heard, this is just what I heard, it was not as fast as a regular drive. No joke, no joke.
Interesting.
They did speed tests.
Huh.
I was watching them on YouTube, and someone's like, "Don't bother with all that money for SSD. Get a regular one because it's just not as fast." I don't know why, but it's just how
I
the
could remember
PS4
that.
was.
Maybe there's something about the hardware that just has trouble reading
could
that
be.
different type of
Processor,
drive.
yeah, the processor,
Yeah.
or
It could
maybe
be,
even
yeah.
the software is not set up to talk to
Yeah. So
chat with
I
a
imagine
SSD.
if they're gonna put them in now, then they'll
Or
they'll
it,
deal with that.
you know, the cache can't update fast enough. Who
Oh, you
knows?
don't have enough cash sometimes to get that done.
Yeah.
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 So and then finally ray tracing capabilities, which is equivalent to what the
Nice. My buddy Ray is gonna love that. I can just kind of trace. It's like he's gonna be like, "Oh, get my good side. Okay, hang on, hold still. I'm gonna trace you again."
Ray's in every game.
He is.
Yep. So GameStop also is highlighting the 8-core AMD chipset, which is pivotal, and I'm reading this directly out of inverse.com. Pivotal in supporting the aforementioned 3D as well as ray tracing. A technique to vastly improve lighting that current gen consoles don't currently support. And then, of course, the solid state hard drive is going to improve load times considerably.
Yeah, it should.
And depending on the size of the hard drive, which would probably be huge, given that it's a solid state, and necessary because the size of the games are getting really, really big. And if you're going to put in a solid state hard drive,
Mhm.
you better have a fucking lot of storage in there to hold all the games. There's nothing about that's equivalent to the big information that turned us on about the Xbox Series X, and that's the smart loading where you can actually have two games kind of running in the background so you can switch between them quickly. So I don't see anything. All right, actually, I take the back. Nope, that was sorry. Smart delivery is what they call it in Xbox, and there was no information of anything equivalent. But there was also doesn't mean it's not there just because it wasn't mentioned. So yeah, we'll see. But news is starting to come out that the PS5 has some serious chops. Still
Good.
haven't decided what I'm gonna get. I don't
Yeah.
know if anybody has.
Well, I know what you're not going to get. There's an article on Business Insider about Stadia and sort of about why the reasons it's struggling. It made a point in the beginning to mention that when the Xbox One and PS4 were first launched, there weren't necessarily a lot of big games for those first couple years because a lot of developers, that was a time when people were unsure if consumers wanted a new video game console. And
Mhm.
so there was a lot of sort of hesitation for developing new games for it. But the indie scene like really stepped in to fill that gap. And like you remember, like the first couple of years of PS4, it's like, hey, let's line up 20 indie games on stage and show them all off. And they really filled the gap that was necessary. Stadia doesn't have those, and that's sort of the biggest problem with it. Is that they mentioned specifically Untitled Goose Game. You know, it's a very popular indie game that came out, but it's not on Stadia. And there's a lot of things just not on Stadia. And so they actually went around and asked a bunch of developers anonymously. And the developers basically said that Google just was not offering enough money to develop a thing for Stadia. Um, so a quote, this is from an anonymous developer. We were approached by the Stadia team. Usually with that kind of thing, they lead with some kind of offer that would give you an incentive to go with them. But then he also says, the article goes on to say, the incentive was kind of non-existent. That's the short of it. The offer, this is a direct quote, the offer was so low that it wasn't even part of the conversation. So
wow. So they're
basic,
lowballing everybody.
so yeah, they're lowballing developers to develop for Stadia, but at the same time, the audience for Stadia is very low, which also doesn't provide an incentive to work with them. And a lot of developers have said that they really don't trust Google to keep things going.
Mhm.
Another quote says, "But with Google's history, I don't even know if they're working on Stadia in a year. That wouldn't be something crazy that Google does. It's within their track record."
Right.
So it's just a
This is them
confluence of
them
every
killing stuff quickly is now coming back to bite them, and that other people are not trusting that they're not going to kill this quickly.
yeah, and it's just a confluence of like it seems like Google made every wrong choice that they could have in the lead up to this, where, given their history, people naturally don't trust them. The audience is small enough that developers would not naturally want to put in the effort to put the game there. And Google is offering them practically no incentive financially to go through the effort to put their game there. And so it's kind of no wonder that Stadia has been bereft of games lately, because it seems that Google actively did not seek out those games.
Mhm.
Like they actively went out of their way to not try to bring games to their gaming platform.
Right. Right. Well, also, and kind of connected to that, this story just released this morning, just like an hour ago on GameSpot, that Google has opened a second development studio in California to develop exclusive games for Stadia. This is going to be, it is based in Playa Vista, which is down south, just north of the Mexican border. And it's going to be run by studio head Shannon Studsill, who you may or may not know, probably not. She worked for Sony, and has worked as an executive producer for Electronics Arts. She founded her own company in 2012 that shut down. She founded her own company that shut down in 2014. She released 2012's PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale. So she's run studios before, has a long history within the industry as an executive producer, both for Sony and for EA. And they say she has extensive background. This is the head of the entertainment, Stadia Games entertainment head, Jade Raymond, said she has extensive background in product development and creative leadership, but most importantly, she's a visionary who, as the studio director, will lead and inspire the Playa Vista teams. We're thrilled to welcome her to the Stadia family. So it may be that Google specifically didn't pursue independent game companies because they were planning on opening their own set of studios to offer independent games of their own, and
They probably
didn't
should have
want
done
established games to compete with their games, which was foolish because they don't have a player base enough to be able to be in that position. But
it's a fair idea, but they probably should have done that, a couple of years ago before launching the service.
Right. It
before
does
making a big deal. And the funny thing is,
it does beg the question why they didn't open these studios when they were working on Stadia to get it all kind of done and together, or release Stadia, left Stadia in a beta for a long enough time, kind of like GeForce did,
or what
it
they could have
actually
done,
developed an ecosystem.
What they could have done is just done everything the same, but just labeled this launch last November as a beta. Just say, this is a beta test. You can buy the beta founders edition for, $130. If that's all, if they just changed their language like that, all of this wouldn't be a problem.
Right. Or start with, since you're opening up studios now, it's going to be a little while before you get your independent games on there to compete and get them up to a quality where you actually have a couple of hits. You're Google. You've got enough money. You've already invested into millions into this Stadia thing, if not billions. Put independent games on there and pay them. You've got the money to actually make it. That's a very small amount of money. The difference between laughably low and decent is pretty small in the scale of what Google has and is investing into this. Put the independent games on there, get people using it, and then kill the independent games, or in the future, don't offer them and produce them as your games come online.
Yeah. Just do something to fill the gap.
Do something to fill up the gap. So yeah, how to lose a lot of money in a very quick amount of time and kill an entire platform by Google.
Well, it's not just Google. Streaming services in general are having a hard time of it. More information came out about Netflix's GeForce Now service because another game.
That's not Netflix. That's GeForce.
Oh yeah,
Nvidia.
Nvidia, not Netflix.
Right.
The game The Long Dark by I'm trying to find the developer. I don't know the developer immediately, but The Long Dark, it's a Arctic survival game, fairly popular. That was also pulled recently. And the developer actually got on Twitter to talk about it and basically said like devs should control where their games exist.
Right.
Because on Vice, on Waypoint, Patrick Klepek, Patrick Klepek,
Okay.
talked to a bunch of developers and found that Into the Breach and FTL are both supported by GeForce Now, but the developers, Subset Games, told them they didn't even know the service existed yet. The developer of Celeste, another game that Nvidia bragged about supporting,
Oh wow.
they didn't know that their game was streaming on GeForce Now.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That is a fuck up of epic proportions.
So it seems like the reason you're seeing a lot of developers pull the games from this is because like they really didn't know it was it, and like it goes back to
it's kind of arguable that GeForce is not actually. I mean, Nvidia is not actually putting the games on their servers and letting people buy it from them. People are putting it on the servers that. It's like you buy your game and you play it on GeForce's servers.
Yeah. There's actually a really good article on The Verge that gets into this. The headline is NVIDIA's GeForce Now is becoming an important test for the future of cloud gaming. And they get into the history of like what this market that NVIDIA is stepping into, because they talk about Arrow, which was an over-the-air broadcast TV streaming service that tried to walk this very narrow gray legal line where it offered over-the-air broadcasts of television but streaming to your computer. And they did that by like having individual antennas for each customer that would take that over-the-air signal and then broadcast that to a digital streaming thing so that people could get, the over-the-air broadcasts digitally. But that ran into, a very murky legal gray area, and eventually Arrow went out of business. And they talk about how MoviePass is kind of similar in that regard. But it's just that this whole history of you have a product and then you have a service that changes the way people consume that product that is very different from what was originally the case. That's a very murky, gray legal area, like I said.
Because if you buy a disc of a game, do you have the right to play that game wherever you can? And it becomes a question of, do I own this disc?
Yeah, but it gets even. When you take the disc out of the equation, it becomes even more confusing because all of a sudden you're paying someone else for the privilege of playing that game on a different service. But what if the original person doesn't want that? Like, I think in one of the articles it mentioned that like the Activision games have a clause in their EULA that explicitly forbids like playing their game on a streaming service.
Well, what if you had the disc and I had this ridiculously huge TV and I said, for $5 you can come over and play this game on my ridiculously huge TV?
That's the same.
You own the disc.
It's
You
weird.
own the disc.
You
right?
own the TV.
Yes.
And I own the TV. So it's like, it cost me money to run this thing. So give me
Yep.
$5 and come over and play it for an hour. And you can have the unbelievable experience because this TV is huge. It's crystal clear. And you'll never play a game like this on any other TV. And you're like, I'm bringing my game over and playing. Here's my $5. So what? I'm wrong?
I
I'm
mean,
wrong
that
for
gets
charging
into
you
the
to use my TV?
same. That gets into the same. I find it very weird. Legal areas of like group viewing. Like if I want to play Star Wars in a theater, like if I want to go to a public park and play Star Wars, and
Off my
have a bunch of
disc.
chairs, like
You have to pay.
I have to pay Disney for that because I bought the DVD and I can watch it, but I can't share that with a large group of people.
Well,
unless I
define
pay
large.
them.
If you have four
Even
people,
for
Yes,
free, you can't.
define large. And
so
that's the thing.
if the three of us are at your house, we can't watch it because it's more than one or more than two. What if we have 10 people over? I mean,
Yeah,
how many people can you put in your house to watch Star Wars before you technically violated the rules of buying this thing?
Yeah.
And that has been a thing. And there are actually online services that if you want to do a public viewing of movies, you go on to it and you go, I want to buy the rights to play it for XYZ amount of people. And it's like, okay, this is going to cost you $100 or this is going to cost you $500. This is going to cost you $10,000, depending on the size, the venue, and whether you're charging and if you're a nonprofit or a for-profit. Yeah, there's actually services to do that. When we have a little in our community center downtown, there's a woman who runs a quote unquote theater that's essentially you pay. I think it's fairly inexpensive, but she plays like foreign films and independent films on Friday nights and serves popcorn and candy. And it's really just nobody's getting rich off of it. That's for sure. It's more of just a community playhouse. She turns the community center into a playhouse for the evening and plays independent films. Well, she has to go online and buy the rights to do that. And yeah, it's a website that lists all the major movies and do you want to show this movie? It doesn't give you the movie. You have to go get that disc or go get that film or download it off of Netflix or wherever. But if you play it, then you need to pay the license as well.
So yeah, it's funny that like a year ago we were hearing about like Stadia and the GeForce Now. It's like, oh, streaming is the future. Streaming is the future. This is the inevitable future. And then when it's here, everyone's like, whoa, now hang on, I don't know if I want this.
Yeah,
it's like all of a sudden that now that this new distribution network is real, a lot of developers are like, hang on. Let me think about this, and then Google's like, I don't want to actually pay people to develop for it. It's like,
right.
Now that it's here, it's like, did we actually want this?
Yeah, it's kind of like if you took GeForce, Stadia, and what's the third streaming service that's out right
xCloud.
now? xCloud. If you took all three of them, put them together, you would have one good service.
Well, I am very, very interested to see what Microsoft says about xCloud at E3 because that seems like it will be the best of the three simply because Microsoft is in a position to pay people to actually develop for it. And also the belief that this would kind of just be an extension of Xbox Live so that if you put your game on Xbox, you are thereby necessitating that it will also be able to stream through xCloud. Mm-hmm. So that like solves all these issues because Microsoft already controls the platform. So if you want your game on there, the GeForce issue is no longer an issue. And because like what they've explained is that if you develop a game for Xbox, you won't have to do any extra work to get it streamable. Like right. They do that work. So the issue of Google paying people to port the things to Stadia is not an issue. So it seems like Microsoft, either they started their process just with a clearer vision of what to do, or they have learned from everyone else's mistakes.
Right. They're absolutely sitting back and watching Google and GeForce make all the mistakes and not making up, which is kind of interesting because if you look at that model of do I be first to market or do I be second to market and not make the mistakes and learn from the mistakes that the first guy did? Microsoft, when they released the the Xbox One, they rushed to be first to market and rushed to be like, we're gonna like bowl you over with our great news. And Sony was the one that sat back and said, yeah, every time you make an announcement, we're gonna just one up you. And that was the dynamic that they had with the release of the consoles. And now we have Phil Spencer, and I don't want to call him, Phil Spector.
It's Spencer. Isn't Spector
Spencer.
The musician?
Yes, God damn it. Oh, I can't. Phil Spencer, who is now, he knows that was a big mistake, and now he's in that position to sit back and let everybody kind of jump in, make a bunch of mistakes, and be smart. So it's kind of interesting that Microsoft in the position of sitting back and watching everybody fuck up and then coming and going, here's what we don't do. We do have independent games. We do have XYZ. We do have permission. Nobody's going to be pulling anything off of our service, essentially capitalizing on the missteps of the predecessors.
Yeah.
Yep. So, interesting discussion. We will sit and watch all of them. We will be the ultimate sit back and watchers and then criticize, because that's what we love to do.
Yeah.
Next item.
This was something I think AC Wraith mentioned in the chat, and it was just not Konami. Is it Konami that makes Dead or Alive? No, Koei Tecmo. Koei Tecmo makes Dead or Alive, and apparently they are adding in, for consoles, microtransactions about changing hair color. Basically, you have to buy a premium ticket in order to change a character's hair color every time. So, like, change it and then change it back would require 2 premium tickets. I don't know if they've actually implemented this yet or if they just talked about it. I think they've just talked about it because there's an update from the beginning of March that basically says YouTubers and Kotaku have like joined the fight of like, yo, this is really fucked up.
Yeah. There's a certain line, and I don't know that Koei Tecmo knew about that line for microtransactions. I feel like horse armor, but they found it.
Logic would say that charging people to change a cosmetic is a step too far.
It always comes back to horse armor. It just does.
Made a lot of money on horse armor. Sold a lot of horse armor.
Protected a lot of horses.
Did it though?
That's the thing. It didn't. That was the thing about horse armor.
We don't know.
It never did.
We don't
it
know.
provided no stats for your horse. It was just changed the way your horse looked.
No, we don't know that.
Sold a lot of horse armor.
We don't know that.
Hey,
so Tomb Raider Definitive Edition PS4 on PSN with a PS Plus price of $5.99. If you haven't played any of the Tomb Raider games, this is your chance. $6, you got to get it.
That was the best one too.
I don't know which one they were. There were a couple different ones that I played. I think I played them on both. They were so good. Both of the last Tomb Raiders. What was it? Rise of the Tomb Raider, and then I forget what the other one was.
Yeah, there was Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Well, yeah, they were just, the ones that were on the new consoles. They were just so good. They really were. So if you haven't played it, take advantage of the sale. $5.99 on. If you got to be a PS Plus member, I think it's $14.99 if not. But that's the sale they're running there, along with a lot of Resident Evil stuff on sale too. If you like Resident Evil, they're having a big sales. A lot of big sales going on here in March. So go check it out.
Every time I see that, I'm tempted to just buy all the old Resident Evil games again.
Yeah. It is tempting to have them all, but I should go back and play those Tomb Raiders. There was one, oh my gosh, the one Tomb Raider when you were climbing in the underwater caves and you got stuck and you were under the water. I was like, I can't play this. That's like a wicked phobia of mine, is being in an underwater cave and trying to crawl up and getting stuck and then dying right there. And you force your way through. That was a difficult part of a video game here. That was.
I always remember that one of the early Tomb Raiders had a code where if you forward, back, jump, blah blah, and you jump, and it's like a sideways jump, and as she's in midair, if you input the code right, she explodes. And I always thought that was just the strangest fucking thing. And it's like,
That's just a
is this a
rumor,
code?
Nick. That's
What?
just a rumor, Nick.
No, I didn't. I specifically input that code and did it, and it was. I don't know why. Yeah, fun. A fun time to when codes like that were just Easter eggs in games instead of DLC.
Yep. My next item is Borderlands. I wrote Borderlands 2. It's Borderlands 3. It's Borderlands 3 is going to get an expansion. It was announced at PAX because, as you know, PAX East was just this last weekend. There was an announcement by Gearbox that Guns, Love, and Tentacles is the expansion for Borderlands 3. The most recent one is going to release March 26th. It will feature a wedding between Sir Hammerlock and Wainwright Jacobs.
I never finished this. This Borderlands 3 did not grab me.
Yeah.
It was just okay.
It was a lot of running around in big maps.
It was okay. 2 was so good, and
Yeah.
2 I felt like you use the acid guns on the robots, and then you use the fire gun on the humans, and then you used whatever else gun on whatever else, and you could really feel like you were doing damage. And in this game, it still was all there, and they added a few other things. It just didn't have the same feel. It didn't have the same humor. It didn't have the same story. It just was okay.
Yeah. Well, Guns, Love, and Tentacles, the marriage of Wainwright and Hammerlock. Going to be full story development. It features the marriage of Wainwright Jacobs and Sir Hammerlock. There's going to be cameos by Gage, the Vault Hunter, the teenage Vault Hunter, and also Deathtrap is going to be the wedding planner. Her Deathtrap robot is the wedding planner for the wedding. Randy Pitchford during PAX also said that the third and fourth expansions are coming later, and they are going to be part of the season pass. He showed concept art, and it's going to be vaguely Western themed, according to those who saw it. And he explicitly mentioned spaghetti Western, the famous spaghetti Western, A Fistful of Dollars, as an inspiration. It's in the DLC is in early development stages, according to him. And the tentative plan is for players to, quote, experience what it's like to be inside the head of the wildest psycho. Which, the wildest psycho was Krieg in Borderlands 2. So we'll see. So yeah, Borderlands 3 is going to have a wedding. I don't know if I'll play it. I mean, I didn't play the first expansion. This is the second expansion.
I gotta finish the game before I do any expansion. I mean, maybe it's one of these things where in a year from now you finish the games and then they have all the expansions on sale, definitive edition or whatever it is, or whatever.
Yep. So, I only have one other item. Nick, have you got anything else?
Yeah, I think so. Something.
It's probably going to be
you'd be
unfriggin'
interested in.
believable. I can tell right now. It is going to be.
No,
it's going to
this
be
just-
a jaw drop. It's going to be just so
It's gonna
ridiculously
blow your
good.
fucking mind.
It is. It's going to knock me over.
There's just been a lot of news reports about Baldur's Gate 3.
I've seen so much of that. It's like this morning I get up and my phone was blowing up with news. In fact, someone knocked on my door and said, "Hey, have you heard about this?"
Shut up! You're such a
I
dick.
know, right?
You're such a dick.
It's
I
like
had three people knock on my door. I
just woke up. I just woke up. I'm having my coffee and I'm hearing about this. It's unbelievable. He's like, I got to tell everyone. I need
There's
to go.
a plane in the sky writing Baldur's Gate 3 in air writing.
I saw
Guys are
that.
so
It
such
did.
assholes to each other. Really, guys, can't we all just get along?
But
So much news. It's unbelievable. I can't get away from my cell phone. I'm getting all these text messages.
Hi, Nick. I'm Baldur's Gate 3. Would you vote for me on Tuesday?
I'm running for president.
I believe
So
healthcare should be available for all Baldurs.
Baldur's Gate 3 news. What is it, Nick?
Yes, I've just been hearing a lot about it because the developers are like first showing it off. Like it's their initial, big reveal of the game.
Right.
And so I've been hearing people talk about it on podcasts. And it just sounds like the advancement in how that game is. That was it was one of the early BioWare games. It was an isometric top-down RPG, point and click. But from what they've described it now is that they're going kind of full modern BioWare with it, where conversations are like done with dramatic, cinematic angles, and they're putting a lot of effort into like the turn-based combat. And I was listening to him going like, this sounds like something Edie might be interested in. This sounds like it's something that's taking up the mantle of BioWare that they've kind of put down.
There's a lot of games that are jumping in on on BioWare's the BioWare fans because BioWare fans feel so let down.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, I might have to keep an eye on Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, I'm not quite sure when it's coming out, but yeah.
Yep.
I am trying so hard to cough into my elbow, and I just can't. I can't do it. Seriously, I can get it about 5 or 6 inches away. I just can't cough into it. Just is that a shark? Seriously, I tried the left one too. That one the right one gets a lot closer. It really does. But if I'm trying to cough into my elbow, it's like no wonder why everyone's getting sick.
You actually got to cough into someone else's elbow.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah, elbows are just naturally virus resistant.
Yes.
So, my last item, and this was kind of a throwaway. I don't know if it's a throwaway article, but it's
not going to be nearly as good as that Boulder Gate news.
No, nothing nearly as good.
We need to change the name of the show to GameHounds Boulder Gate.
Yeah.
You just want to say Balder over and over again.
Baltimore. Baltimore.
So there was kind of a passing conversation that was caught by the newsies. According to BioWare cinematic designer John Ebenger, they were talking about Mass Effect and how different players played Mass Effect. And apparently BioWare put a lot of effort into allowing players to decide whether they wanted to play a Paragon or a Renegade, which was essentially good or evil. If you wanted to do like all good stuff, and then the decisions that you made throughout the game helped determine what percentage you were Paragon, what percentage you were Renegade. It opened up different dialogue choices. It made slight changes to the way that different characters reacted to you. It was especially at the time, it was a pretty revolutionary way of doing things. Now it's kind of, it's not that hard, not that usual, but it's not unheard of. And that was one of the things that people really loved about it is it was, dare I say, without getting sued, a bit of a choose your own adventure aspect to Mass Effect. And BioWare put a lot of time into that mechanic. Essentially, you had to write a bunch of cinematics and a bunch of dialogue based on what your percentage was of, first you have to do Renegade from Paragon, and then you had to kind of program in whether, when you're going to get certain dialogue choices based on your percentage of how much you were Renegade or how much you were Paragon. So it wasn't an easy task. And it turns out when people played the games, 92% of players opted to be Paragon. So a lot of the effort that they put into creating that Renegade possibility and balancing that out was completely wasted because
I don't
almost
know.
Everyone played pure Paragon.
So I thought this was weird, and I saw other people bring this up, and I've tracked down these infographics because That sounded like a high number to me, and I remember when those games first came out, or a little time after those games came out, BioWare put out infographics breaking down those choices.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found articles about this. And in 2010, they had an infographic for Mass Effect 2 in which they stated that 36% of people chose Renegade. And then in 2013, there was an infographic for Mass Effect 3 that said about 35.5% people chose Renegade. So I don't know where this guy is getting his 90% number. Like, is that the number of people since then that have done it? Like, is that a number amassing like all people from when the games were released to now? So like maybe people playing it today are choosing Paragon more likely, or what? Because like that number is very different from what BioWare has actually put out previously.
Right. And it may be that that's wrong because was there something that he said in a tweet? Somebody wrote a tweet that said, "Developer, in this game, you can be the bad guy. Me. Wow, cool. Me. Spares and forgives enemies, refuses to steal, selects friendliest dialogue options. Developer, this is supposed to be escapist fantasy about violating societal norms. Me. I'm a nice villain." And that was when John Ebinger from BioWare said, yep, something like 92% of Mass Effect players were Paragon. And we put a lot of work into the Renegade content too. And so he, it may be that he was just pulling that number out of his ass. It wasn't 92%, it was 70%. But even so, even at 70%, it's still a lot of people. Comparatively few people played Renegade, and questionable. I mean, I loved the fact that it was there, but I totally played Paragon, and I very rarely took the Renegade option. And if I started to get too much Renegade, then I made a point of playing Paragon because I wanted all the good options. I wanted my friends to like me. I wanted people to react well to me when I met them. I didn't want them looking at me going, "Oh, you're clearly a bad man," or a bad woman in my case.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was a nice villain too. All right. So anything else before we close out the show?
No.
Yep. All right. So I do want to remind everyone we have a Patreon. Patreon is so very important to us. It keeps us going. Join us. $1 is all we ask, and if you want to provide more, that allows us even more content. You can get a shout out, like Terry fucking Sweeten, who has been great. Nick, you are one of our very own Patreon supporters. Thank you very much, and it helps offset the not insubstantial costs that it takes to have the podcast and the syndication and the editing and the video and all of the services that are required for us to do that. So thank you.
Okay.
And you can find it at patreon.com/GameHounds.
I just saw this news. This is breaking news, not game related, but depressing to my personal heart, and also kind of interesting. MGM is delaying the release of the new Bond movie, No Time to Die, from April to November, based on, quote, an evaluation of the global theatrical marketplace and coronavirus.
Really?
Yes. So they're saying, we've looked at the global theatrical marketplace, and we don't want to put our movie out in theaters
when in the middle of a pandemic.
Period. Yeah, in the middle of a pandemic. So we're going to delay it until November.
Wow.
And they're delaying it worldwide.
Wow.
There's a lot of delays.
God damn it. I'm really excited for this movie, and now I have to wait another 6 fucking months.
Really?
Thanks, coronavirus.
This is not going to be the first thing. This is not going to be the right
but
here
it's
in
the
our
first
town.
movie. But
yeah,
it's
but they're
movie.
telling kids in our town that we don't want you traveling on any of these school trips that you were going on either. So, I mean, everyone's kind of scaling down, trying to let this thing settle down.
It is. It's interesting seeing him. a movie get delayed? Like I'd understand it, and now I'm
Honestly, if I had PAX tickets this past weekend, I'd be 50-50 about going right now. Seriously, just
I would have gone because actually they're allowing you to cancel flights now because of this, but I probably would have gone, but I would be concerned.
I mean, you'd be concerned about all the people getting sick anyway, and then this thing on top of it. If one person has it, is he going to infect 50,000 people? You know, and B, just of everybody that pulled out, it was like, what's going to be there? I mean, just you know.
And breaking news: as of 10 minutes ago, California just had its first death from the coronavirus.
Oh man!
no.
I'm telling you, this is no joke.
It's
People
a
are
ways away.
laughing
It's
about
not
it.
near me. It's in Placer County, which is like 3 hours, or 2.5 hours. That
I get this.
Still,
People
it's
on
Northern
Facebook
California.
and they're posting, well, 20,000 people died of heart disease and 20,000 people died of diabetes and 30,000 people died of cancer today. And, but it's like, well, here's the difference. You can't catch all those things by being in contact with them. I can't catch cancer from you. I can't catch heart disease from you. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, that there's a lot of people that die every day from different things, but this is so contagious right now that people are, that's the concern, is that it's so contagious. If cancer was contagious, then yes, I can put that on the list.
Well, also, I mean, your concern should be somewhere between I am going out and going to buy every single mask and shut myself in, and doing stupid stuff like licking other people's faces. It's right now, it's too small to see, but the COVID virus COVID is the disease. The virus has another name, 19.
COVID-19.
No, COVID-19 is the name of the illness. If you say COVID-19 virus, no, the virus itself has a different name, and it's 19 something, but I forget the exact name. But the COVID virus, COVID-19 virus, has a mortality right now of about 2%. It tends to affect and kill people usually with weakened immune systems or other pre-existing conditions, not exclusively. But we're talking, not very many people have died from it. Now, it's been more people than say the SARS and the NARS virus that came out a few years ago, and kind of in the same situation, because this thing seems to be much more, you can catch it a lot easier than those things, mostly because a lot of people are asymptomatic and infectious. That being said, it's too early to tell what the actual mortality rate is. Way more people die of the flu in this country, and 98% of people, at least right now, early stages, not knowing the actual amount, but the indications are, at least as what we're looking at, 2% mortality. 98% of people are asymptomatic, have very mild symptoms, or get better. So I'm not saying don't be concerned. You should be concerned. But at the same time, don't freak out. I don't know that I would go out to big events like PAX. Certainly not PAX, because PAX is notoriously full of very sick people that
I think I've gotten sick the past 3 times I came back from PAX.
It is a classic place for people to spread shit to each other. It is a fucking petri dish. When you can literally have a breakout of pink eye at PAX, that's a place where it's like, if there's a virus going around, probably not a great idea to go there. Would I not go to a movie theater? I'd probably go to a movie theater. Chances are nobody's gonna, sneeze or cough on me. I'm not gonna not go to work. I'm not going to not go to the store. I'm just gonna stand 6 feet away from each other. So if someone coughs, they're not coughing on you, or sneezes, doesn't get any respiratory droplets on you, because that's what's going to do it. It's the respiratory droplets. It doesn't, so far, it looks like it doesn't just float in the air. It's respiratory droplets getting into your eyes and nose. So, yeah.
On
and
that
if
happy
you get
note,
chances are you're probably going to be okay. Problem is that, It is a virus. It's a brand new virus. It's obviously susceptible to genetic drift. It tends to mutate. So anyway,
and then it's the contagious nature of it.
don't
It's
freak out, but don't be complacent. Somewhere in the middle
Mhm.
between those two. All right. So
if you cough on something, you should burn it. Fire is the only cleanser.
don't say that because you know what Gully's going to do. He's going to fly out and cough on you just so he can burn you.
I've got to set myself on fire
Light
then.
you- nothing would make him happier.
I'm gonna email you a cough. I'm gonna attach it.
Oh shit! Then I'm just gonna burn my computer then. I'll be
Thank
safe.
you. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, AC Wraith, for providing a link to the CDC about how COVID-19 spreads.
To actual information.
To
No,
actual real
that's
information.
a fake site. Go to my Facebook page. You get all the real news and totally 100% accurate things going on my page. So the CDC.gov. No, you're gonna get just the mainstream media spin on that. I'll tell you what's going on, right down to a T. So,
yeah,
make sure you pick up Norton antivirus. You won't get sick. Just carry it in your pocket. There you go.
No, you strap the disc to your face.
There you go.
Yeah. That's what you use as a mask as an Norton antivirus disc.
Mhm.
All right, so thank you for, if you're at all concerned, don't look at Fox News, don't look at the internet, do not look at Twitter, just go to the cdc.gov and get educated. All right, gentlemen, shall we close this out?
Mhm.
All right, let's close this out. You've been listening to GameHounds, episode 535. We recorded this on Wednesday, March 4th, 2020. With me has been Holy. I think I said 2019 earlier. With me has been Holy Gully and Nick DiNicola, aka Wash Your Fucking Hands and Cough in Your Fucking Elbow. And Nick DiNicola. Ways to get a hold of us: gamehounds.net is our website, and gamehounds@gmail.com is our email. We record this show live every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker. That's speaker with an R, Spreaker.com. You can join us live in the chat room on Spreaker, or if you'd like to watch us simulcast this on video, yes, we do video. You can find us on our Facebook page, which is The GameHounds on Facebook, and that page is lovingly curated with all news, including not just this video, but all the news throughout the week by our very own piss boy, Steve M. Hawk Ortegon. And you can also find us on YouTube. YouTube is GameHounds Vids, VIDS, as in videos. All one word, GameHounds Vids. What else do we have? What else do we need to talk about? all of the links for everything that we talked about, every little thing we mentioned is in the chat, both all on Facebook, on the comment section, in YouTube in the comment section, and in Spreaker in the comment section. Those are all done by our very own Lancelot Link, our link bitch. AC Wraith, thank you very much for doing all of that. It's a huge amount of work. We appreciate it. And yeah, I guess that's it. Don't forget, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamehounds. Please donate to us. It keeps us going into the next 12 years of our lifespan. And I guess that's it. Nick, Gully, we will see you next week. Stay healthy. Wash your hands. Don't touch your nose, eyes, and mouth. Cough into your elbow. And have a good week. Talk to you later. Bye.
Nick, you're touching your eye. I saw that.
Shit.
I saw that. I saw that.
And we're out on audio. Video is still live. All right.
All right.
So there may be a possibility we might have to change the podcast date again, depending on if I get this job. We'll see. We'll see. I don't have a choice. As you guys know, I do not have a choice on this one.
Just a podcast from the desk.
From the front desk?
Yeah.
That's probably a bad idea.
It'll be fine.
They're not very permissible about that. So we may have to go back to weekends because this is a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Yeah. It's a, it's a business.
Yeah. No, I get it. Well, we'll do what we can. But all right, I gotta walk the dog. I sent you guys an email on the next show.
Okay, good.
Check it out. Add to it. I'd like to try to start recording.
Yeah. Also, yeah. If you're watching in the chat room, still, don't forget we have Grandpa's Hidden Chest. That is still, it is so good, Goalie. Grandpa's Hidden Chest is so fucking good. You can find it in grandpa'shiddenchest.com. You can also find it on Spreaker. That's where you're putting it up right now. They're short. They're super short. They're like 10 minutes long each.
10 to 20, yeah.
Yeah, episodic. There is one whole story arc up already. It is so good. So if you haven't listened to grandpa'shiddenchest.com, Grandpa's Hidden Chest yet, do it. It's super neat. We're already working on the next short story to go.
Yeah,
into.
I need to get probably 8 or 9 episodes up, and then I'm going to release it to some of the podcast groups I'm in on Facebook.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of people that do that. Yeah, I didn't want to put 1 or 2. I'd like to get a few up.
No, you need to get a bunch in the.
There's nothing
in the
worse than going
chain.
to a podcast and having 1 or 2 and like, oh, this is great, and then
Right, then you forget. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I'd rather have a good 8 or 10. Then it's like,
yeah,
okay.
you need a bunch of gas in the tank if you're gonna run it.
Yeah, so we'll do that.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. All right, we'll talk to everybody later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.